What's going on, everybody? You're listening to a new episode of the Post Game Report, and for some of you, you're watching me play Helldivers 2 on the PlayStation 5. So I'm going to do an initial review. I've been playing Helldivers for, I'd say 4 days in a row. I didn't pick it up at launch, and that was for a reason. Number one reason is I'm very selective with my games now. And before I continue, I just want to remind people I do have a brain injury. So cognitive skills, reaction time, you're going to see that in this video. So if you see me, and I'm actually playing on easy because I wanted to continue to level up. At this point, I'm still a level 19. And an issue occurred, and I'm going to get to that. So, I've been playing Helldivers. I bought it a little after launch, and it has been a fantastic game. This game reminds me so much of Ghost Recon, where, and this was on the OG Xbox, there was a terrorist hunt, it was a game type, and you and a friend could roam around some of the selective levels that you chose, and you simply went around hunting terrorists, and you would move on to the next stage. It sounds pretty boring, but when you put it at a higher difficulty, it was really challenging, and it was just you and your friend. And while you're playing this, you're chatting and having a good old fucking time. Now, Helldivers 2 is way more intense. You can play with 3 other people in your squad, a total of 4. And depending on the level that you select of difficulty, things could get extremely crazy. So, in the beginning, of course, I had to play on easy to see how I would do. And I've done a few levels at extreme. I've done a few missions at extreme. Of course, I didn't do it alone. Some people can actually do extreme on their own. And kudos to you guys. I got to do it with a squad. And there's, one part of the galaxy on the right side. You go and you shoot bugs, and then there's another side on the left side, another part of the galaxy where you go up against robots, and those robots, you think of Terminator, and it's very similar to Terminator. You have these giant robots, well, not super giant robots like the bugs, but you have these big ass robots. Some of them have freaking shields. You have robots with knives running at you. Robots throwing grenades, shooting rocket launchers, tanks, all kind of crazy shit. And of course, you get more variety as you increase the difficulty level. So those are part of the things that make Helldivers extremely fun for me. It's been a very long freaking time since I've sat down and played multiplayer games with random strangers and had a good time. And I'm not like these other fake ass YouTube channels that is going to hype up Redfall and tell you how amazing it is. I'm not one of those individuals, and you guys know that. So I'm not here trying to hype up Helldivers. If you look all throughout the gaming community, people are doing that shit on their own. And I think the fact that this was a game that hit people by surprise, especially the developers, like they got to keep paying for more freaking servers because more people want to play. And they're playing either on a PlayStation 5 or a PC. I've played in squads where people were on PC. So it's not like people were overhyping this game. I mentioned Redfall. I will mention Starfield. Starfield, unfortunately, was overhyped by a demographic of people who are notorious for overhyping everything and being disappointed because the expectations they set were too damn high. They were unachievable. So as soon as there was an announcement that Starfield was going to remain an Xbox exclusive, there was no trailers, there was nothing shown of the game, only the title. That's all it took for these content creators who claim to favor Xbox. They ran with that. How this is the game of the generation. There's no other game like it. Making up shit before actually seeing what's real. And forget it, when there was an official trailer, these people were going ape shit. And unfortunately, when the game launched, Starfield that is, it had its issues, its technical issues, which a lot of games do have, so that's nothing new. But the game did not live up to the hype. I remember the same shit happened with the first Titanfall. It was an exclusive on the Xbox One. And the same batch of clowns was doing the exact same shit they did with Starfield. They were saying that Titanfall was going to unseat Halo as, the Xbox best multiplayer game, and that people who don't own an Xbox are jealous and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is a new IP, number one, so relax. Anything could happen. Lo and behold, when Titanfall launched, it wasn't a bad game, but it was multiplayer only. It wasn't as good as people were making it out to be. Fortunately, Titanfall 2 was really good, and I played that on the PlayStation 4. It was one of my favorite games that year. So, why am I bringing it up? Well, Helldivers didn't have that type of hype behind it. The initial trailer for it looked very promising. The fact that it was a third-person perspective and the visuals were looking pretty good. But we've seen how initial reveals will never look quite the same when they launch. Or that the initial reveal, the initial trailer, was played on a PC. We've seen that type of shit. So I never fall for the hype when I first see a video game announced or there's an initial trailer or teaser. People were talking about Helldivers 2, of course, but they were not overhyping it. People weren't on social media or YouTube saying how Helldivers was going to be the best multiplayer game to date, or that it was going to be the best video game this generation. No one said that. No one dared to say that because we had no idea what was going to really happen when Helldivers launched. Lo and behold, Helldivers 2 has been a huge success. Maybe it's because a lot of people held their expectations, or it could be the fact that it plays extremely well. The gunplay is really good. I play at performance mode, so it's 60 frames per second. And if you're in one of these missions where everyone is throwing orbital freaking these things called orbital drops, you throw this freaking beacon, and let's say a napalm strike occurs where you threw that beacon. Sometimes all 4 people are throwing orbital beacons, and there's absolutely no slowdown when that happens. I'm talking about huge explosions. So the game performs really well. So you have pretty good visuals for a multiplayer game. You have humor, It's very cheesy. Think of Starship Troopers, which is very. It's safe to say that Starship Troopers was the inspiration behind this game. You even have giant bugs. I mean, huge bugs. You have other. When you increase the difficulty, you have bugs that shoot out projectiles from their asses, just like the movie. So it's safe to say that Starship Trooper was a big inspiration. Maybe the studio has said that. I don't know. I wouldn't know. So you have good gameplay. I would even say great gameplay. And I'm talking about the controls. They're very responsive. Whether you're reloading, you're doing a melee, or you're freaking calling in your orbital strikes, everything is very responsive, which is very important for a multiplayer game. Because remember, this is multiplayer only. You need to have an internet connection, and you need to be a member of the PlayStation Network, which I will get to in a second. So once again, if you weren't here for the beginning, this is my gameplay, and if it sucks, I agree. I was playing on easy. I have a brain injury, so me trying to play this on my own is very challenging. Certain functions aren't as responsive as they used to be. Too much action confuses the fuck out of me. So sometimes you'll see me standing still for a few seconds. So anyway, back to my preview, or quasi review of Helldivers 2. So you have there's no story, but it's pretty plain and simple. You are part of, this defense force that is going to drop down in certain planets to cleanse it from this infestation of bugs. Then, as I stated, there's another part of the galaxy where you have to destroy robots. So it's pretty straightforward, but there's some humor into it. You hear the banter between the AI-controlled characters. Well, not AI-controlled. They're your characters that you're controlling, but you'll hear them saying certain things that are kind of cheesy that fall into the whole Starship Trooper comparison. It's very cheesy, 90s action movie type cheese. And it works. It works. So there's no story. It's just plain and simple. Go, kill the enemy, cleanse the planet. It'll even show you a progress bar as you select certain regions of the galaxy that let you know that this particular area is nearly complete as far as eliminating the enemy. And the missions themselves can be a simple go attack this hive, kill all of the eggs, and then get back to your extraction point. While you're doing that, you will discover hidden items. Some will be rare, not chemicals, but and I'm drawing a blank, which happens because of my injury. But samples. So you'll collect these samples, and depending on the level of difficulty, you'll even collect rare samples that will come into play as you upgrade your ship and your orbital strikes. And you'll discover other little side missions as you're roaming around the planet. So you don't have to necessarily do the objectives right away, depending on the number of players on your team. For example, the people I've been teaming up with, we split up into twos, and we'll go see these beacons lighting up from a distance, and two of us will run to that while the other one is killing a small hive or something. Or if the other two who are separated from us, if they have enough firepower, they'll go do one objective while we go hunt for extra samples and stuff like that, because the samples do come into play. So there's some strategy. Also, we selected light armor. So you get light, regular armor, and then heavy armor. And you have a sprint button. So you see, as you're sprinting, your stamina is depleting. So depending on the type of armor you select, if you pick light armor, you can sprint further. So what we were doing, we had a few people who had light armor, and they would do the exploring, because if someone finds certain samples, we all get it. Or if you get super cash, we all get it. Super credits, whatever they call it. So there's a benefit to all this. And then you have freaking, and I'm talking about the bugs in this particular segment. When you face the insects, depending on, because you'll find that there's a nest, and you have to throw a grenade into the nest, close the holes, and that's how you eliminate them. And then you got to shoot all these little eggs that are laying on the sides of the rocks. Then you'll see a random group of insects. You start fighting those, and one of the insects will call. You'll see an insect stand up on its legs and smoke come out its mouth. Next thing you know, there's a herd of bugs popping out from the ground and coming out to attack you. So you have to make sure you pay attention and shoot that bug before it calls for support. And depending on the freaking difficulty, you don't want that support to come in, because you have these giant ass charger bugs coming at you, and they hit you with one freaking charge, you're done. So think of like a rhino that's the size of a freaking, not even a bus, like two buses piled on top of each other. And there's nothing but protection in front and on the sides, but on the back, it's weak. So you have to wait for it to run past you, or have somebody, your teammate, shooting it from the back where it has an opening. And unfortunately, you're the bait. You have to keep running so it follows you. So there's ways to attack these giant bugs. And then the robots, as I stated, you can do an easy level, and it's just, a few variations of the robots. The light ones that come at you with blades. There's other ones that look like Terminators that are shooting laser cannons at you. Not cannons, but laser guns. Then you increase it to medium, and you have these robots that are freaking taller, and they have these freaking chainsaws. And then you increase it to, let's say, challenging, and you have even taller robots. And now you have these robots that are on like walkers. They look like AT-ATs from Star Wars. And if you go to freaking hard mode, you have tanks. And they just keep coming and coming. And as I said, no pun intended. Or, don't get kinky or whatever. They shoot at you. They're throwing rockets. They're shooting rockets. They're throwing grenades. You have tanks. You have these giant robots with freaking giant shields, so you can't freaking shoot them straight up. And all the while, you have to escort scientists from one spot in the map to another, and you have to make sure that they don't get hit by all of this. And I tell you, we tried easy mode doing one of these escort missions, and you're only escorting them from like a small distance, And we lost because if you don't attack the robots in a certain way, because there's airdrops coming in all the time. So I found out, or I figured out, as you see them coming, you see the dropship getting ready to bring in a new infantry of robots. It's ideal to throw a freaking orbital strike in that location and try to do the best you can to kill as many before they all drop. And this way you have a limited amount of freaking robots coming at you, because they're going to keep coming at you. And if you let a few freaking of these drop ships, not shits, ships, if you let a few of these drop ships bring down more robots, you're going to lose the damn mission, because they just keep coming and coming. It's freaking crazy. And on easy, you can kill them, but it's just the number of robots and the fact that they're shooting back at you. That's where it gets crazy. I played one on extreme with a group, and we won 2 missions. We tried one of these escort missions, and we actually were able, because you get a certain amount of numbers that you have to escort. We accomplished that. We were waiting for the dropship. We never made it to the dropship. Now, the dropship lands on the same facility where you're escorting these scientists. But holy shit, man. We were surrounded, and it got out of control. And there was one of us left, because you can request, let's say I die either by accidental, and that's the other thing. You can actually shoot your teammate by accident or on purpose, depending on what type of player you are. And then you can throw down a beacon for reinforcement. You can bring them back, but you have a limited number of reinforcements. And the higher the difficulty, the less reinforcements you get. So, and I could be wrong on that. I got to verify that, so I shouldn't have said that. But I feel like you get less reinforcements the higher the difficulty. But yeah, this guy, he was the last one left. He couldn't bring anybody in. Not that he had the time to stop. And that's the other thing. If you hit the left L2 on your controller, it will bring up a bunch of direction prompts. So if you want to bring in support, meaning that one of your teammates just died and you want to bring them back, you have to hit the D-pad and just think of Dance Dance Revolution, or something like that, right? You have directions, you need to hit the button, left, right, up, down, left, stuff like that. So maybe you have the coordination to run and do that at the same time, but it's very difficult. So you need to find a spot where you can call down support, and there needs to be enough time for you to do the button prompts, throw the damn beacon, and then run away from your enemy. And then hope that when your support lands, that they're not surrounded instantly. So, as you can see, this video is like 25 minutes, and I'm already running out of time. I can't even talk about the rest of the game, but I will say the negatives have been the server issues. I had a game where we were on hard difficulty, I believe, and we killed this giant ass crawler. We were killing bugs left and right, and chargers and everything. And I just need a little bit to get to level 20, and my game fucking crashed and my PlayStation 5 rebooted. So, yeah, there's issues with the servers, and there have been people that have been dropping during games. So it is a little frustrating. So just think of that before you spend the $40 on Helldivers 2. Me, I recommend it. It's a great game. You won't regret it if you can get in. That's the only downfall. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm JVB. You guys take care. Talk to you later.